What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to Prolific Sports Podcast, brought to you by the Score on Air Network. Money Mack, the Pretty Boys champ, hosting. Sorry for the delays today. I know you was expecting me a little earlier, had some technical difficulties over here, and could not get myself up going, but I'm here and happy to be here. Looking good, feeling good. You know I'm fresh. Shout out to my barber, BJ, aka Mr. Pringles. Always cutting. I hope you like my new set. If you wasn't with me last week, I'm moving on up. I just want to plug a couple of my homeboy shows and a couple of things that I do during the week. So, first of all, catch me every Friday night at 8 o'clock, Conscious by Nature podcast. On YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. So check me out on there. Also, you can catch this podcast later on in the evening on my personal channel, Money Mack, the Pretty Boys Champ YouTube channel. Check me out there. Is watch sports and produce shows. It's such a difficult life I have. On Tuesdays, I produce the Crock Pot at 1 o'clock, hosted by Julian Jackson. On Wednesdays at 2 is my college basketball production with one of my favorites, Mark Fages, on the Mark. And then Thursday, I get into a little witty banner with Smith Coltrane on All Sports 365. So check me out during the week and see what I got going on. So to get into my next segment is some breaking news. And it's really just throwing my whole day off right now. But the Miami Dolphins are out here making major moves right now. They have traded the third pick in the draft to the 49ers for the 12th pick. Now, the Niners get the third pick and the 102nd pick overall, and they also give up a first rounder in 2022 and a first rounder in 2023. So I just think the Niners, everybody is really high on these four quarterbacks coming out. I can see why too. These guys, we know Trevor Lawrence is coming off first, but the next three guys, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, the Niners obviously feel very comfortable about going after either one of these players. All of them seem to be able to fit the system that Shanahan has put on out there. Kyle Shanahan, he's an excellent coach for the 49ers, excellent offensive play caller. So I just think, they are a team that's kind of loaded. Defensively, they're getting a lot of their guys back this year. Deebo Samuels is a real playmaker. They found a true number one in Brandon Ayuk last year from Arizona State. So, I just see that the Niners are committed to winning and getting back to the top of that division no matter what the Rams are doing with Matt Stafford and that whole thing out there. But not to lead the Dolphins out, they're trying to be some real power players. So just a couple minutes ago, I guess the Dolphins have traded back up into the top 10. And they acquired a 6th pick from the Eagles. So they get the 6th pick this year, and they get the 156th pick overall in the 2021 draft. And the Eagles get the number 12 pick this year, 123 overall this year, and a first rounder next year. Now, I'm not sure if the Dolphins are trading their first rounder or the first rounder they got for the Niners. That has not been disclosed yet. Also, I want to give a shout out real quick to, while we're in this breaking news, to Michael Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. And you say, why? Well, he had his pro day yesterday, and he ran a 4.3940 dash. This is a middle linebacker, 6'3", 265 pounds, 4.3940. He's definitely going to be a top 10 pick. He will be coming off probably somewhere around 7 to the Detroit Lions, I imagine. They could definitely use him out there. They just signed Aaron Jones back in Green Bay, so they're definitely going to need somebody to tackle. And So, yeah, that's it for my breaking news. Let's move on to our major plays. Major plays that happened yesterday. We're talking about all the trades. And then we're not going to talk about all the trades that happened at the trade deadline, but we are going to talk about the major trades that happened at the trade deadline. So these major plays that happened yesterday, let's just start off at the top of the list. And I don't know how I really feel about this. The Heat get Victor Oladipo from the Rockets for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2020 first-round draft swap. So they swap picks. So, in a case like that, the NBA is so fickle. When you swap picks, it's really whoever has the lower pick. So at the end of the day, the Heat might be able to actually keep their pick depending on how high or how low it is. I kind of like the Heat. I know everybody is really big on, what's the name of that team out there? Brooklyn. Everybody loves some Brooklyn. Everybody loves some Harden. Everybody loves some Kyrie. Only cat I really, really love out there is KD, man. The rest of them dudes, man, they suspect. It's just, they are what I would call, I don't know, players. Players like I can't trust players. And I don't like players I can't trust. We thought Kyrie was going to be the man, and we seen him and the Celtics, then they play better without him. It's like the Celtics was a better team without Kyrie. So, I ain't completely sold that the Nets just going to run through the East. And I know a lot of people is like, oh, they can't be stopped. I'm going to tell you something right now. Every star on that team is super soft. I'm talking about at any moment they could be done for. Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Blake Griffin, all these guys got injury problems, man. So I'm not trying to just hear that they about to just run through the damn East, please. This is the next up on my list is kind of surprising, man. The Clippers traded Lou for Rondo, which, and 2 second-round picks. All right, man. Rondo for Lou Williams. You traded buckets for assists, which, I'm on the fence about this because I really like Lou Williams and what he brings to the table. And Rondo is just playing terrible basketball right now. But you never know until you get him into the playoffs. But I'm not sold on the Clippers because I'm just not sold on Paul George. Paul George is the type of dude where we still waiting for PG-13 to be this PG-13. What kind of guy get a nickname and don't even live up to his nickname? We done gave this man a nickname, and he don't even live up to it. Every time I turn around, he done disappeared. And then you'll be like, well, Money, nah, he had a big game that game 7, they still lost. When he gonna show up and they gonna win one? When he gonna show up and actually do something? I'm still waiting for PG-13 to be this PG-13 dude. We know what Kawhi gonna do. We know what Kawhi Leonard about. But I don't know if I trade Lou Williams and put all my eggs in the PG-13, hoping that he gonna give me, 25 a night for the playoffs? Because that's what you're gonna need when you're giving away somebody like Lou Williams. You're giving away major buckets. So if you're giving away major buckets, then I would say you need to be bringing major buckets back. Tatum for George in the offseason. Yeah, I can definitely get with that, Mr. Hunt. I would definitely look to move George. He is not that piece that you need to. You want him to close. You want him to be that player, but he has never materialized into that guy. And so to give up your second leading scorer in Lou off the bench is just I don't know. Rondo is going to get guys the ball and put them in position to be successful in the playoffs because that's what type of player he is. He steps his game up evidently all the time in the playoffs, but I need Paul George to step his game up in the playoffs. That's what I need because with the Lakers really hurt right now, the Clippers have a golden opportunity to make a run at it with 2 monster wing players if they can get it done because they're going to be the team that can really, really match up with the Nets other than a Lakers squad. Those wing positions Paul George, he's one heck of a defensive player, so he can definitely match up. I like that matchup with Kawhi and Durant and Harden and Paul George. I would like to really see that finals. That's a flowy up and down final. And Rondo and Kyrie going at it. You know, Rondo ain't no slouch. He go after everybody. So I seen Rondo get a 52-point triple-double. Like, it is what it is. He's a gamer. He's a player. All right, man. Let me move on, man. I got a little carried away on that. That whole trade yesterday was kind of weird to me. Let's get into this Bulls trade. Vucevic and Amino from the Magic for Wendell Carter and Otto Porter Jr. and 2 second-round picks. Now, the Bulls aren't war beaters. They're probably not going to get out of the first round of the playoffs. The East is so top-heavy. It's hard to say. I guess they're getting rid of some of this young talent and trying to become a better team. But Vucevic is still young. He's just only 30 years old. So I'm not going to say he's old, but it's just like for the style of play that you're looking for, I don't know if I would have just considered getting rid of. I mean, again, Wendell Carter and Otto Porter have not materialized. So I would say the Bulls did a good job in bringing in some better players and some better talent. I would like to see them actually hit on a draft pick. Since Rose, they haven't really hit on a draft pick. And after his injuries, they just have really have not been able to put it back together. It's like they are an organization that really struggles. They got Mike, and before Mike, they weren't much. And then after Mike, they weren't much. And then they picked up Rose, and they were really good. And it's just like they lack that consistency every year to compete and make a move even like a new age team like the Wizards, because the Warriors, the Warriors weren't always a team that was thought of to make the last 10 to 12 seasons been one of those teams that have been willing to trade, make moves. They've hit on some draft picks, and that's really where you got to be at in the NBA, man. You got to hit on that draft guys that get into the NBA and produce on a regular basis, like what you're expecting, that you really got to hit and really got to find that matches. Yeah, this is true. Charlie Hunt, thank you so much. You are exactly right. Everybody is looking for shooters, but we cannot be remiss that rebounds win championships. The Lakers don't win that championship last year if they're not able to down the glass. And we think of this new age shooting. But for real, we watched the Lakers win it last year just on pounding the glass with Mcgee and Howard. And yeah, they hit some threes, but the Lakers weren't a good three-point shooting team last year. They basically won it old school. You know what I mean? So, like, it's always that fine line of where you can find talent. And, everybody wants to play small ball, but when you got AD and LeBron at your 4 and your 5, that's real small ball. And you got LeBron running the point, and you're bringing a big man all the way outside. That's real small ball. And you got an athletic big like an Anthony Davis. Like, it's very difficult to play with those guys. And I'm anxious to see what the Nets are going to do with their small ball, if they're going to play KD at the 5, because him at 7 foot, KD at the 5 at your center position, being able to be a prolific scorer the way he is, man, you asking for trouble right now. But then again, I don't know who they would be able to play at the 4, or would they swap that Blake Griffin and, it's so many things that it's the second half of the NBA, man, and we're going to see so many changes in team style and what they want to do right now and how they want to develop themselves. So I kind of like this next pickup. The Nuggets go out and they pick up Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark from the Magic for Gary Harris and R.J. Hampton in the first rounder, which I do. I like that pick. I thought Denver needed some more athleticism underneath to go with the Joker. And it's almost like he's not big, he's not fast, he's not quick, he's not anything but just a basketball player. The Joker, I seen him run the break the other night. I'm watching NBA TV. I see him run the break. Somebody swats his blocks his shot from behind, puts it on the glass. He literally grabs the rebound and just puts it like nobody's there, man. Like Aaron Gordon, I would like to really see what he's going to be able to do because the Nuggets aren't a team that really likes to get up and run and gun. And Aaron Gordon struggles when he doesn't shoot in transition. Like if you ever watch him play, his offensive game, when you slow him down and put him in a half-court situation, Aaron Gordon has a tendency sometimes to struggle to play in small space. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jamal Murray. Because he's a Kentucky dude anyway, so I love Jamal Murray. But I just figure like Aaron Gordon, he struggles to really play in space in his offensive game. So hopefully they can get him out and run some sets for him where he can get some backdoor cuts, get some easy buckets because he does have a really good inside scoring game around the basket, and he can shoot the three in transition. Like I don't like him as a spot up wing shooter or a pick and roll shooter. That's not where he's most effective. He's a rhythm player, and when you can get him in rhythm, in transition, he is much more effective. Here's another pick, Javale Mcgee to the Nuggets, and I see what they're doing. They are really trying to get more athletic on the inside, and that's where they struggled at last year. They struggled to rebound. They got beat up on the glass last year by the Lakers in that Western Conference Finals. And now you can see that they're really making a run at it. They're going to really try to put – and, it doesn't matter if Denver is one of those teams that can get in at a 7 seed or an 8 seed or a 6 seed and make a run at it. They could beat some people. And we seen them beat the Clippers last year. So, like, don't be remiss. Like, some of these teams, they don't need to be top seeds. Like, Denver's been number 2 seed the last 2 seasons. They don't need to be a top seed. They have experience. They have been there before. They know what's going on. They don't need a whole lot of extra help to get them where they need to go. I got a commercial coming up in about 4 minutes, so I do want to talk about this Sixers trade. And before I talk about that, I want to talk about this interview that I seen Wednesday night with Kyle Lowry, where he's on NBA TV, and they're swearing up and down that he's about to get traded. He's almost in tears. He gets a phone call from Drake during the interview. Like, they're talking about us all over, and then I wake up and he's still in Toronto. So, anyways, I don't even know what happened with that. I thought he was gone. I thought he was jumping ship. I don't know what's going on. So the Sixers, anyways, we thought Kyle Lowry was going to be a Sixer, and they were going to make a real run. George Hill, like, it's a 3-team trade, and I thought the Sixers wanted to make a run at Brooklyn. And you making a run at Brooklyn, bringing in George Hill, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. You trying to make a run at Brooklyn, you go get George Hill, that's not going to get it done. I definitely would have liked to see Kyle Lowry, like his defense, his leadership. Sometimes he could be wish-washy. Sometimes he got the migraines and he got the little headaches or whatever. He got to go clear his head or whatever. Them things happen sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But as far as game go, I want to start Kyle Lowry over George Hill. So, and then before I get out of here, man, JJ Reddick still playing. He got traded yesterday. I guess, if you can shoot, you can play in the league a long time, man, because he's been in the league a long time. And the fact that he can shoot, he can get a job anywhere. Go stand in the corner and knock this down. You can get a job anywhere, man. So, thanks for joining me for my first segment. When I get back, we will be talking about a UFC 260. I'm not really a big fight guy, but I got somebody in studio who would love to break it down for you. I know a lot of my fans and a lot of my watchers was asking, well, you don't talk about the UFC and fight, and we got a big fight coming up this weekend. So I'll be back in a minute. Prolific Sports, presented by Score on Air.
In sports, you want to have a player that can get the job done right every time. A real all-star, somebody that's dependable and you can turn to when the game is tough. That player in the audio-video industry is the theater people. From setting up your home's Wi-Fi network and offices, conference rooms, to setting up home theater inside or outside, to setting up the systems to make your home run smarter and safer as well. The theater people can do it all with the quality of professionalism you can expect every single time. That isn't just a great all-around player, that is an all-star. That is why we are the leaders in audiovisual installation in Central Ohio. So call us at 614-604-6327 or check out our website at ttpcolumbus.com to figure out which products will fit you. And don't forget, amplify your personality with the theater.
We are back at Prolific Sports, presented by Score on Air. Before we get into UFC 260, my guy's going to get his stuff together. I just want to go over a quick update if you're not privy to it. Deshaun Watson, and I'm not going to form no opinions. I'm not going to get into he say, she say. I'm just basically going to report the facts. And the facts are now that he faces 16 lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault and inappropriate conduct. Okay. Deshaun Watson, lawyer, says that the allegations are completely false. His lawyer, he is represented by Rusty Hardin. He's a very prominent lawyer in Texas. Rusty Hardin, in a statement Tuesday, speaks on Tony Busby, who is in charge of the accusers. Hardin accuses him of orchestrating a circus-like atmosphere by using the media to publicly embarrass Watson. Hardin says Busby has refused to provide the identities of women so that his office can investigate the claims, which also include an affidavit from Watson's marketing manager that one of the women have previously attempted to blackmail Watson. Just the facts. In a statement made a couple days ago after the Rusty Hardin, the Texans say they had plans to trade Watson by the draft, but now with his legal troubles, that will be difficult to move him before the NFL draft. All right, so that was the facts. I'm not going to speak on that. You go ahead and form whatever opinion you want on that. I just gave it to you. You think whatever you want about that situation. I'll keep my opinion to myself, and I just wanted to let that be known. So with that said, let's get into fight night. Mark Fages, UFC 260. Who's getting beat up? Talk to me.
What's up, folks? What's up, folks? I'm Mark Fages here for your UFC 260 breakdown. I'm going to start off by talking about the main fight for the prelims, both the early prelims and the regular prelims you'll be able to see on ESPN+. Starting off, I'm going to talk about the fight before the pay-per-view starts. It's a light heavyweight fight between Alonzo Menifee and Fabio Cherant. Alonzo Menifee's on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Devin Clark before losing to Ovince St. Preux, who Ovince has fought, OSP has fought for the championship. He's fought John Jones before. So Menifield's coming off 2 losses, and he's fighting against Fabio Cherant, who had a fight back in Dana White's Contender Series where he was knocked out. Since then, he's had 3 fights, and his last fight was in the Legacy Fighting Alliance, where he won a championship. So he's back for his first actual UFC event against Menifee, holding the belt. So actually, this is kind of a title fight between Fabio and Menifee. It's a must-win for Menifee. He is the favored fighter. Menifee is. It's a must-win for him, I think, or he's going to be in bad shape and moving down in that light heavyweight division. Charant's got that LFA belt, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the main card here at UFC 260. Jamie Malarkey, an Australian, is fighting against one of my favorite fighters, Chama Worthy, the Death Star.
The Death Star? Who is that?
Chama Worthy, the Death Star, is from fights out of the Pittsburgh Academy, and he is coming off a loss. He's had 3 UFC fights. His last one was an early first-round knockout. He went down, and Chama's back.
So you say he fights out of Pittsburgh?
He does fight out of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He actually teaches there at the Pittsburgh Academy. He's an instructor. This light heavyweight division is it's the lightweight division. Did I say heavyweight? The lightweight division is the toughest division in the UFC. Probably the second would be the welterweight. But this is a lightweight fight. It looks like Death Star Chama Worthy is favored. He's one of my favorites. I'm hoping to see him take out Malarkey. Chama's 16-7. The women's fight between Jillian Robertson and Miranda Fear the Maverick is a flyweight fight at 125. Now, this 125 division hasn't been around as long as when Dana brought in the female fighters. There were only 2 weight classes. You had the 115-pound division that had Joanna as the champ there, and the bantamweight division at 135. Over the last couple years, they've added 2 divisions with 145 that they specifically made for Chris Cyborg, who was knocked out by Amanda Nunes. And there's not much going on at 145. And then he also most recently opened up this 125 flyweight division where Jillian Robertson is going to take on Miranda Maverick. The feature fight is between Thomas Almeida and Sean Sugar O'Malley. O'Malley is coming off his first loss to Chito Vera. He's had leg problems. If you know about O'Malley, he won a fight on a broken leg.
What's wrong with this dude's hair?
He did that. I'll tell you what, his hair is like that because those are the colors of Chito Vera's country. So he did that as a way to try to get in Chito's head. It was highly expected. He was the favorite, and he had the leg injury, and Chito won that fight. So Sean's coming off his first loss. Thomas Almeida is in big trouble. He's lost 4 of his last 5, and this fight is I believe this is the lightweight division. They are going to go at it. Sean O'Malley is the favorite, and that is the feature fight. The co-main event is between former welterweight champ Tyrone Woodley and Vicente Luque. Now, most of the fighters that have been interviewed are taking Vicente because he seems to be on an upward tread. Vicente's won 4 out of 5 fights, and his in the middle of that was a loss to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who actually fought Tyrone Woodley 2 different times for the middleweight title. Wonderboy beat Vicente, and Vicente came back with 2 straight wins. So that being said, Tyron, who lost the belt to Kamaru Usman, he is on a 3-fight losing streak. The man is 38 years old.
Man, he shouldn't be fighting at 38 years old. This is a young man's sport, man. 38 years old, man. You don't need to be fighting with these little gloves on, man.
But he's been fighting the top of the division as well. When he lost to Usman, he fought against Gilbert Burns, who trains with Kamaru Usman and just had a title fight against his teammate where he was defeated. Usman beat Gilbert Burns. That next fight, so Tyron also fought Gilbert Burns, and his last fight was against Colby Covington, where I believe it was a broken rib on Tyron's part. It caused him to have trouble breathing, and the fight was stopped, a knockout for Covington.
So does Tyron Woodley have a chance at 38 fighting this young man out here?
He's alluded in the lead up to this fight that he He's going to have something different to offer. I don't see a guy 38 years old.
Bringing too much different.
Right. Like, what's he going to do that's going to surprise Vicente? All the other fighters are taking Vicente. There's very few that think that Tyron would come back. Tyron's been focused on other things like a rap career.
Oh, he's rapping now?
Yeah, he is rapping.
Oh, man. I don't know if rapping and fighting go together, man. You got to do one or the other. You got to rap all the time or you got to fight all the time, man.
The St. Louis native is the underdog against the up-and-coming Vicente Luque. That leads to the main event, a rematch versus heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic out of Cleveland, Ohio. The firefighter is going to have to defend his belt against the hard-hitting Francis Ngannou. When Francis and Stipe met the first time, Stipe won that. And what Francis is going to have to do that he had problems with, he stopped 8 of 14 takedowns in the first fight, but that's still 6 takedowns. Francis, when he gets on the ground, hasn't shown that he has much ground game. He hasn't needed any ground game in his last 4 fights. When he lost to Stipe, he went on to take another loss against Derek Lewis out of Houston, but his last 4 fights have all been first-round knockouts. They say that Francis hits like a Ford Taurus going at top speed. And
a Ford Taurus going at top speed.
If you've seen the knockouts, you check out the Alistair Overeem knockout. He took his head off. He
literally took his head off?
Pretty much. You check that knockout out, and you will see that he hit him so hard that his chin was all the way up in the air when he hit the mat.
Just knocked him in the next week, huh?
Pretty much.
Holy shit.
Francis, Francis, after that, he's fought 2 former champions in Cain Velasquez and JDS. For you fans out there, you know that JDS and Cain had a rivalry. They're obviously past their prime. The thing with the heavyweight division is there's a lot of older fighters. So our firefighting Cleveland champion Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou. Francis hopefully has worked on his wrestling. He's going to need to have that in case he gets taken down. That's kind of what kept Stipe in the fight. He took it to the ground. But if you watch that fight, the highlights, Stipe dominated everywhere. Now, that being said, Francis Ngannou, 4 straight knockouts in the first round. One shot can end it, just like most heavyweight fights. But Francis is one of the hardest hitters in all of MMA. So it's really hard to call. Francis can catch him. They're acknowledging Stipe as the greatest heavyweight ever. And another interesting note about this fight is since Stipe and Francis fought the first time, Stipe has only fought one opponent. He had a trilogy with Daniel Cormier.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
So yeah, and Daniel's one of the best.
He is, but I mean, you want to see different fighters.
That's true. Daniel won the first fight. Stipe won the last 2. So you definitely want to see different fighters. He's only seen one fighter in like the last 2 or 3 years. So that being said, it looks like they actually have Ngannou as the favorite by the Vegas odds.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's because he ain't fought. That's because the other dude ain't fought nobody, though. So he has more competition, different fights, has different looks. They probably think he's got a lot better since the last time they met each other.
You're not wrong. Other MMA news. It's been announced that Miesha Tate, the former bantamweight women's champion, is returning after leaving a few years back.
Is Miesha Tate coming back? Is Ronda Rousey coming back?
No. When they just announced Miesha coming back yesterday, a lot of the reporters automatically asked Dana if he had talked to Ronda. He said, "Don't even go there. Ronda is not coming back." Miesha's story is that when Ronda lost the title against Holly Holm, Holly's next fight was defending the belt against Miesha, and Miesha was losing that fight badly. It went all the way to the 5th round, and I remember watching that fight and thinking there were 2 minutes left, and you knew that Miesha had to go for broke, and I thought, this is it. this is your career, because Misha's had shots at the title before. She fought Ronda twice, and it was pretty incredible. She hit her with a shot. They got to the ground, and Misha got a rear naked choke in the last minute of the fight when she was dominated all of the first 4 rounds and up until she nailed that shot with time running out. She got the rear naked choke, and she took the women's bantamweight championship. After that, Misha took on Amanda Nunes, who we all know now is the GOAT of MMA. She earned that GOAT title after she beat Misha. She had a super fight against Chris Cyborg. I mentioned to you before that Cyborg had the 145-pound division specifically made for her. She couldn't get down and make weight at 135. Actually, her first couple UFC fights were a catch weight at 140, but they made a 145, I think that's featherweight, division for Cyborg, who won the title. She beat Tanya Evinger and a couple other. She defended the belt, I think, twice before she ran into Nunes. The Lioness, Amanda Nunes, came out and took out Cyborg, and Cyborg was immediately shipped to Bellator. So you have any questions there, PBC?
No, I don't. I think that was a very thorough explanation of R260 and some good background information to set it up. So everybody can just check that out this week, I think.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Appreciate you, Mark Fages. Mark Fages with my UFC Fight Night 260, because I don't know much about UFC. If there was a boxing fight night, we'd be all over that. But I know we got a lot of UFC fans, and I want to keep it fresh for everybody. On to our next segment, Mr. All Eyes on Me. We're going to talk about some NFL talk. We already talked about the major trades today between the Dolphins and the Niners. We talked about the major trade between the Dolphins and the Eagles. The Dolphins got back up in that first top 10. They're eyeing one of those receivers, either, what's the kid's name? Jamar Chase from LSU, the Biletnikoff winner last year, or the Biletnikoff winner this year from Alabama. So, Dolphins are not serious. They are serious about getting themselves a weapon. So they are moving back up into the top 10. Let's talk about a couple teams that went out and got themselves some weapons, like the Giants landing Kenny Golladay. It's a major, major pickup for them. They need weapons, help on the outside, something to alleviate that box pressure from Saquon Barkley, which who's coming back this year. He should be beasting once again. Putting some weapons on the outside, keeping those safeties and corners honest, and not packing the line in the box against that run game. Also, now here's a guy, Juju Smith. And I know people are probably thinking that Juju had down numbers this year, and it almost felt like he had down numbers this year, but the truth was, he was ranked in the top 20 as a receiver. He was ranked 16. So he can play X, he can play Z, he can play in the slot. So a guy like Juju is just, you can't really, you kind of underpaid for him. You got him at a deal. 1 year, $8 million, you really got a deal for him. When you think about everything he can do, he can play all 3 receiver positions. He has really good hands. He's a really good route runner. He makes plays. So you just have to live with that. Now, here's a real head scratcher for me. The Raiders, and they always make me scratch my head. I mean, some of the things that they do really never surprises me. I mean, I'm just surprised that they just keep consistently making bad moves, I think. You got a guy like Josh Jacobs, who's a every down, all do it all back, and then you go out. And I know you need more than one running back in the NFL, but it's not like you even go out and get like a spectacular pass rusher or pass catching running back or a big bruising running back. You basically go get the same guy that Josh Jacobs is when you go out and get a Kenyon Drake. And I understand you got a certain type of offense, but you can't really have the same back you want a different type of back. You want someone to change the pace up. When you talk about your backup coming in, you talk about a guy coming in to change the pace up. When you talk about Aaron Jones, then you bring in Williams, you bring the hammer in. You know what I'm saying? You got the sweet feet, then you bring the hammer in. So I just don't really get where you go out and get a Kenyon Drake for the Raiders, and you got a guy named Josh Jacobs back there running the ball. Here's another one that makes me scratch my head. Marlon Mack back to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I'm confused by this because Jonathan Taylor finished 8th in rushing last year, and I mean, what did he play? 10 games? He basically didn't start getting the ball until about 6 games, 7 games into the season last year. And Marlon Mack has been injured every year. Trust me, I know I've taken him in fantasy a couple years, and I mean, you depend on the guy to show up every week, and he doesn't show up. Yeah, that guy, Marlon Mack. So, I mean, the Colts have Hines, they have Taylor, they have Mack, and I'm missing a guy. Nyheim Hines. I'm missing a guy. I can't remember right now, right off my head, but I'm missing someone. I don't see where Marlon Mack is going to fit into that backfield. Free agency. Here's another guy that signed back with his team, and that is Dak Prescott. I really like this pick for the Cowboys. I mean, what else are they going to do? I really like this pick for a guy like CeeDee Lamb. The numbers that CeeDee Lamb was doing with Dak Prescott were just absolutely amazing last year. Through the roof for a rookie. I had an idea that he might have shattered a couple rookie records last year had Dak stayed healthy, because it almost looked like CeeDee Lamb at times was the number 1 receiver. He was the number 1 guy at times on that team. Dak dropped back and just literally just looked for him. Look for a rookie to make the plays and get the job done. So I like that pick for the Cowboys. They're going to need defensive players. They need to know that the NFL is tackle football, and they need people that will tackle. So I'm looking forward to them drafting defensive players. Matt Stafford, and I know that's been a big one. It almost feels like it's not as big of a move as it was, seeing on what the Niners are trying to do right now, trying to go get them a quarterback. It almost seems like what the Rebs did is not that big of a move, especially with the dominating defense that the Niners have. Like, they have one of the most dominating defense. That defensive line 2 years ago is how they got to the Super Bowl. 3 out of the 4 guys got hurt last year in that terrible, terrible Meadowlands Stadium on that horrible field. I wonder if they're going to fix that. I wonder, has the NFL looked at that field? I mean, I remember watching week 1, and all those guys in the 49ers got hurt week 2. Week 1, I'm watching Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets play. I watched Le'Veon Bell run a wheel route out the backfield. Nobody's even around it. He just blows his hammy on the turf. I don't know what's up with that turf, what's up with that field. Just not right, though. It's something not right about it. Yeah, you know, when you think things can't get any worse, they just often do. When you think of it, ask Jared Goff. You know, he's in decline. His last 2 seasons, his stats have declined since their Super Bowl run. And when you just think things couldn't get no worse, you get traded to the Lions. And you realize things can get a lot worse. And like I mentioned this on a previous show, the Detroit, we talk about the Cleveland Browns a lot, but the Detroit Lions are by far the worst franchise in NFL history. If you just look at the win percentages, if you just look at the playoffs, if you just look at the All-Pro Hall of Fame players. Like, seriously. I mean, when you think of the Lions, Barry Sanders, Megatron, Calvin Johnson, they've had some pretty good players. Herman Moore. I mean, they've had some good guys, but when I think of their legacy, Matt Stafford, he's never won the division. You are a first pick, number 1 overall pick. You've been playing for a team for 12 seasons, and you've never been first in your division. There's only 3 other teams besides you. You've never been first. Packers dominate division. Minnesota got a couple wins in those 12 years. Even the Bears got a couple titles in those 12 years. You don't have one time. I'm not a believer in Matt Stafford. I'm not a believer in Jared Goff. I'm not a believer in any of that thing going on with the Detroit Lions over there. You can't make me believe that they know what they're doing. Like, there is no possible way. There is no possible way that I take a guy number 1 overall and we never win a division in 12 seasons. You cannot equate to me that he is a really good player when you don't win with him. All right, man. I'm gonna get on a tangent. Let's move on to Carson Wentz, because I'm a quarterback dude, so I like talking about quarterbacks. So I don't know, man. He looks kind of like gun shy, pocket shy. I don't know if he's been hit too much, but if you watch Carson Wentz play this year, it almost looked like he's been hit too many times, because he has this where he pats the ball now, which is a really bad habit, and he got real happy feet, not like feet where you set and you're comfortable in the pocket, but his feet are always like tapping, and you don't want that. You can never get comfortable as a quarterback. You can never get your balance to throw as a quarterback if you're always chopping your feet. Like, you have to have some type of settle into yourself. You can never get comfortable if you're tapping the ball or if you're bouncing or shaking. And if you watch Carson Wentz, he had a lot of those subtle movements which really took away from his mechanics. When you're tapping and you're shaking and your feet are moving, you constantly have to reset yourself and you're not ready to throw the football. And if you do, sometimes you try to reset yourself too fast, or you try to throw in the middle of setting yourself. And that leads into inaccurate throws and just being uncomfortable in the pocket at times. And when you get like that, it is very, very hard to get out of that week-to-week basis. You almost do need a new team, a change of environment, a change of scene, a new coaching staff, something different, because right now what's going on with Carson Wentz and what he's dealing with, he doesn't believe in Peterson and his offense. So when you're calling in plays, he's constantly thinking to himself, he has to make the play, he has to do this, he has to do that, which constantly takes away that comfort of a quarterback. And without your quarterback being comfortable, it reflects in the rest of your team not be able to become comfortable. Running backs can't get comfortable. Receivers can't get comfortable. Linemen can't get comfortable. And that translates to defense. Offense can't do anything. Offense can't get comfortable. Offense can't settle down. That makes defense have to step up, and defense work harder, and defense do this. So, like, it's a trickle-down effect, and then people just don't understand. When that quarterback gets rattled, yeah, some teams can bring it back, but all right, when you're depending on that and he's your talent and you're leaning on him, it's hard for Carson Wentz to get sacked 7 times, and then you expect him the next week to come back and not be gun shy. Every time you see somebody coming off the edge, he's flinching. You can't help it. It's human nature. It's hard to stand back there and see people coming at you and not flinch up when you're constantly getting hit and taking shots and not being productive. Like, some guys take those shots and still be productive, and that also helps your confidence. But when you're not able to make plays and you're still getting hit, it hurts you. It hurts you. So let's move on to Cam Newton. And as bad as his year was last year, Cam Newton, years ago, I could say Cam Newton was one of my, you asked me my favorite player in the NFL, I said Cam Newton. I love this game. I love the way he plays. I love how he gets down. The Cam Newton I seen this year was not that Cam Newton that was my favorite player, I'm going to tell you right now. So, and I know the Patriots, they make huge splashes every year. And you can't say they went out and got him some weapons, I guess, because compared to what he was throwing at last year and who was his tight ends and who was his receivers, you could say that the Patriots went out and got some weapons. They went out and got Nelson Aguilar from the Raiders, who had after being drafted by the Eagles, he spent 3 years with the Eagles. He had a breakout season with the Raiders last year. So he earned some money this year. So they signed Nelson Aguilar. They signed Kendrick Bourne, which, you know, Bourne really couldn't get back on the job with the emergence that I spoke of earlier of Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco. Now, that kid's a player. So Kendrick Bourne found it tough to beat out the Brandon Ayuk kid. He's special. He's a talent. And then they go out and get 2 tight ends. Hunter Henry, what kind of fits that mode of the Gronk that they're looking for, and Juju Smith, who also kind of has that Gronk mode too, athletic, but I think Juju Smith is a lot better blocker than Hunter Henry. So when it's all said and done, I know Hunter Henry is the name that we all kind of splash, but I think Juju Smith fits better in the Patriots system because he is a more willing blocker as well as a better blocking tight end. Now, obviously, Hunter Henry is a better route runner and a better catcher, better ball skills tight end. But as far as physicality, blocking, and toughness, Juju Smith on the end of the line for me to button hook that thing up. I want to talk about another report. So I guess Jim Harbaugh, coach of the Baltimore Ravens, comes out, says they're going to make some changes to the offense this year. I understand what you're saying, and he couldn't understand why they were struggling to find a receiver in free agency. And I'm just going to say, I can see why a lot of receivers don't want to go to Baltimore. And it's not because Lamar Jackson can't throw. And it's not because he can't make the plays. Because I've seen him throw and he can make the plays. But the truth is, when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, they run the ball 57% of the time. Like, there's nobody else that even runs the ball 50% of the time in the NFL. Like, they run the ball 57% of the time, almost 60% of the time. Like, that's very difficult for me as a stud receiver to want to go to a team where they run the ball 50% of the time, throw it 43% of the time, and then as a receiver, I have to share the ball with other players. So it's not like you're going to get opportunities. When you throw the ball 43% of the time, the opportunities are not there for when they say, oh, he's spreading the wealth around. The opportunity is not there to spread the wealth. He's only throwing the ball 43% of the time. So it's very difficult when you say they made an offer to Juju Smith-Schuster and he turned them down. Well, Claypool and Washington and Juju Smith and Eric Ebron and whoever running back they decided to go get, because you know the Steelers like to throw to their running backs out the backfield. He still was signed there because there is more opportunity in a pass-heavy offense for the ball to be spread around and you to get your numbers than it will be in an offense that runs the ball 57% of the time. You are very unlikely to get the numbers that you are looking for to require, I would say, to get the numbers that you need to require for you to have that next contract. Because when it comes down to it, when you go into that office and to negotiate for your next contract, they're not going to talk about the sacrifices you made for the team that they ran the ball 50% of the time and you're a blocking receiver now, and you're no longer a catching or a possession or a speed or a playmaking receiver. Your main duty is to block. Now we're looking at how many pancakes and how many this, you that, but that's not how you evaluate a receiver. You evaluate him on catches, yards, and touchdowns. And with that being said, when you play for a team who doesn't throw the ball, you're never going to get those numbers, so you're never going to see that contract that you're looking for. So I can understand why a Juju and a Kenny Golladay and a T.Y. Hilton, because they made offers to all those guys, and they were unable to sign any of them, which I can understand that. It makes sense to me on why. Moving on right now. So the Eagles signed Joe Flacco yesterday, and apparently Jalen Hurts was named the starter a couple weeks ago, and Flacco he's not necessarily making plans saying he's going to start, but he's going in with the thoughts of competing, hoping that he can get a look at the starting job. And I got to say, man, Joe, man, I ain't mad at you. Like for real, I ain't even mad at you, Joe. You know, if a cat gave me an opportunity to go in and say you're going to be the backup, like, just because they say you're going to be the backup don't mean you got to accept that role. Don't mean you can't go in there and outshine and take that starting job. It don't mean that. Just because it can't say it don't make it true. Just like when they say Andy Dalton, you're going to be the starter in Chicago. Ain't no telling if they going to take a dude like Mac Jones from Alabama. And you know that the trade talks are still on route for Russell Wilson. They have not given up on the fact that Chicago is still trying to go after Russell Wilson. And truthfully, I don't even think that Chicago believes that Andy Dalton is an upgrade from Mitch Trubisky, nor is he an upgrade for Nick Foles. Like, he's serviceable and he's a good veteran quarterback, but he is not an upgrade from neither one of those players. He's basically almost the same player as a Mitch Trubisky, as an Andy Dalton. Like, Andy Dalton is a good backup. Mitch Trubisky is in Buffalo as being a good backup. So, I mean, that is who he is. That is the type of player he has become. He has had time where he could have been that guy. He has won the division a couple times in Cincinnati. He had a really, really strong rapport and a great player in A.J. Green, and they just did not get it done. It was times they just did not make it happen. So with that being said, Russell Wilson is still on the Chicago Bears radar, and possibly make a trade on trade day, on draft day. So that is not out the realm of possibility. We will get into my last segment. I have a few minutes. It's time for my curtain call. And what better way to end it off? We're talking about all this football. I'm just going to run through. We all love a little fantasy. I know some of us was on the fence this year about it because of COVID. But let's just run through my top 10 real quick. And agree, disagree. When you like it, dislike it. But I'm a running back man. So we're going to go with Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. Here's a wrench. Travis Kelce. And you better get you a tight end because there's only 3 in the whole entire league. So if you got to reach for a guy like Kelce in the first round, you better reach for him. I'm telling you right now, because you ain't got but, Kittles and Waller. And then after that, there are no tight ends in the NFL. Okay. So Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, like how he got in there so far. He led the league in touchdowns. It's just how it worked out. Austin Eckler, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill to round out my top 10 for fantasy first rounders. That's my curtain call, and that has been Prolific Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining me this week. Brought to you by the Score On Air Network. Catch me next week, man. Honestly, I don't even know what time. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. I'm going to try to get it together for you. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next week.